One of the most significant collections held by UCD Archives are the papers of Eamon de Valera. Within 2 years of the Easter Rising, Eamon de Valera was president of Sinn Féin and in many ways the international face of Irish republicanism. Interestingly, however, in the century afterwards, de Valera's stock has fallen somewhat in popular terms, and these days he's probably regarded as a much less popular figure than somebody like Michael Collins. I think it's significant, however, when you look at the range of correspondence in the de Valera papers that you get a sense of why he became an important leader within the Irish Republican movement, and this is reflected in a number of items of correspondence that show, in fact, de Valera's position as a leader within prison as well as a significant figure outside. De Valera didn't know he was going to survive. When he was sentenced to death on the 9th of May 1916, he believed he was going to be shot. He wrote to a close friend of his, Jack Barrett, an old school friend from Rockwell College, to ask Barrett to take care of his wife and children. However, de Valera's sentence was commuted. He was sentenced instead to life imprisonment and sent to prison in England. And he served time in Dartmoor and a number of other prisons, where he was regarded by the prison authorities as quite clearly the leader of the Irish Republican inmates, and also as a firebrand and a radical. And indeed, the British authorities did see de Valera as somebody who was quite a dangerous enemy of theirs. Included in the correspondence here are a number of items which were returned to de Valera in later years, including the badge that he wore on his prison hat throughout the period, a cartoon that was drawn by a colleague of his in jail, which again described the hat as the noblest crown an Irish head can wear, a felon's cap, and also then cards which de Valera received at Christmas 1916 and also Easter 1917. One of those cards was from Ronan Ceannt, the 10-year-old son of Eamon Ceannt, who'd been executed for his part in the Rising, and it's quite remarkable in that it shows Santa Claus in the guise of an Irish volunteer carrying volunteers in his Christmas sack outside an image of the GPO. And of course, many of the Irish prisoners received cards from their supporters in Ireland at both Christmas and Easter, which indeed contributed to in keeping up their morale while in prison. Just as in other eras, the prisoners needed to keep in touch with their colleagues outside, and they needed to do so without alerting the authorities. De Valera was very aware, some of the prisoners weren't in the beginning, that their letters would be read by the authorities. So he advised those outside to be very careful in what they said, and he also tried to find ways to get material out of the prison underneath the noses of the prison authorities. In 1917, a prisoner was released because he was ill, and a number of communications from de Valera were smuggled out in that prisoner's scapulars. They were sent back to Ireland, and they included advice for Republicans in Ireland in terms of the upcoming by-elections which were taking place and whether or not they should stand candidates in them, and also de Valera's views on the importance of a post-war peace conference and in putting Ireland's position and demand for independence towards the world. And this correspondence was very significant because, of course, it was illegal. They weren't supposed to be sending out this material. The British authorities would have been very interested if they could get their hands on it, but nevertheless it got out of Britain into the hands of Republicans in Dublin and allowed the prisoners and their supporters in Ireland to maintain a dialogue with each other despite the fact that they were being held under lock and key in Britain. And what the correspondence in the de Valera papers shows is that de Valera had already by 1917 become an extremely significant figure in terms of Republican politics, both inside and outside prison.